Welcome to Fitzdog Radio here in Venice Beach, California. The summer has arrived. I know you don't want to hear it because most of you have been sweating your balls and your vagina lips off for like a month. Maybe you're flooded up in Vermont. Maybe you're inhaling smoke in upstate New York from Canada. I mean, the Deep South, forget about it. Death Valley was 130 yesterday. But Venice Beach had not cracked 71 degrees until this past week. And so I had the first real beach day yesterday. I went down with my nephews. It was Dej's 13th birthday. We did some body surfing, some boogie boarding, played some football on the beach, some frisbee, made a cake at home, ate outside. It was a beautiful summer day. I look a little pink, got a little sun. Was out there with Owen and JoJo and Molly and Shaheen. It was great. It was great. Good time. So, and those are memories I think that, you know, his little brother is only maybe 10, and I think they will always remember, or 11. They'll always remember these times when they come out to visit us. We love the shit out of them. My wife's sister's amazing. She's a lawyer, but she's a good lawyer. Like, she helps poor people. She worked in the South Bronx for a lot of years, and she's just amazing. And I love her husband, Shaheen. And anyway, I think I might have talked about them last week, so I won't get into it again. But Pete Scott's in town, my buddy Pete. Played some golf. We played some paddle tennis. He's one of those annoying guys who I play 10 times more paddle tennis and golf than him, and then he goes out and he beats me. Just one of those jocks. One of those guys, like when I was a kid, I was never good at sports. I lacked all confidence. I was skinny. I was anxious. I just sucked. And I think Pete was one of those guys that just always played. He was the captain of the rugby team, and I don't know. It just every sport the guy's good at. But we had fun. We're gonna go down and play again tonight. Little evening paddle tennis, maybe jump in the ocean and enjoy this goddamn summer while it's here. Was out at the clubs this week. Was walking into the showroom at the Comedy Store on Friday night. I had like 3 shows, and I was like running in and out of rooms. So I'm like running into the showroom at the store, and I bump into this guy, and I go, "Oh, I'm sorry." He turns around, he goes, "No problem." It's like, "Oh, hey, Quentin Tarantino, walking into my show." So I went on stage, and I gave it everything I got. I brought it. The Fitzdog brought it. And who knows the reaction. I bolted out of there. I don't stick around. And give him my headshot, try to schmooze him, tell him that his first AD was in my wedding party, Billy Clark. I don't need to do that. I think my work speaks for itself. And maybe that's why I've crawled my way to the middle, and I'm staying right there, baby. I don't push. I'm going to be directing another 1-hour special. Just got hired by another comic who I respect a lot. I'll announce it when it gets closer. But this was my goal for this year. I directed my own special, and then I did Zane Lamprey's, and now I'm doing another one. And I think this is something I really enjoy. I think I'm well suited for it. I've got all these years experience, and I get what it takes to make a good comedy show and how to get it. So that's exciting. I finished up that Game Show Network show that I've been doing for the last couple weeks. Did 21 episodes in the can. That doesn't mean that I received anal sex in order to get the show, but it's in the can. Maybe that's what it meant back in the 50s when Hollywood was just starting out. When they said in the can, that means you took it up the pooper to get the role. Here's something I said that was funny the other night. We were in the kitchen with my wife and my sister-in-law making dinner. And, and I'm trying to help out. I'm trying to contribute. I'm not a good cook. But I kept asking for things like, where's the ketchup? Not ketchup. It was harder than that. It was like, where's the fucking paprika? And then they said, my sister-in-law and my wife said, what is it with when you're born with the Y chromosome that you can't find anything? And I said, maybe instead of the Y chromosome, they should call it the where chromosome. A rim shot, trumpet noise, and a fart on that one. All right, let's get to a couple quick overheards because I did a very long interview with my guest just now. He just left, and he's amazing. We'll talk about him in a moment, but some nice overheards. Joseph Pellioni. What up, Pellioni? What up, Pell? Local Home Depot, walking through the plumbing section, I passed a large middle-aged couple looking at a wooden toilet seat, and I overheard the woman say, quote, well, I don't think we'll break that one. Au contraire, large lady. Wood may not be the way to go unless you want splinters in your asshole. Wood is for nice, light, fit people who watch what they eat. You need... What you need what? What material would that be that she needs? Plastic? A heavy-duty plastic? I don't know. Louie Hermosillo said, I didn't overhear, but surely someone did. I took my nephew out for lunch, and suddenly, without warning, he said in a clear and concise manner, quote, only I am allowed to touch my penis. Crowded restaurant, and surely the people around us heard it. When I took him home and explained his outburst, the mom laughed, said I had just taught him about stranger danger. Well, that's a tough situation. I mean, you can't fight your way out of that one. If you're in a diner and your nephew says that, the only thing to do is laugh really hard, unless that actually makes you seem more of a deviant. Like one of those scheming cartoon characters who taps his fingers together while he laughs after murdering somebody. So maybe you just pay the check and you head out. Call it a day. And maybe you tell your sister that from now on you're only going to do play dates at home with the nephew. Dan Mullen, as I'm grabbing my morning coffee and walking to the checkout counter at my local gas station, the lady behind the counter, 90-pound, 70-year-old smoker, drinker, says to the young 19-ish-year-old blonde-haired girl, who I assume was a new employee, as I have never seen her before, quote, kind of feels like when your hymen breaks. Pause as I take my last few steps to reach the counter. Just the coffee today, sir? Blonde-haired girl nods with a, as if to understand. Kind of like when your hymen breaks. Well, the hymen, I have defrocked. I have had the honor of removing the virginity from several young women when I was in my day, when I was around 17. And no hymen breakage. Nobody ever bled. Either I didn't reach, maybe I didn't reach, or they'd been on a couple of those toy ponies outside the supermarket. Mom, give me another quarter. I'm almost there. I didn't grow up in Boston. Why does this girl have a Boston accent? Because she's having a little orgasm. That's why in this sketch. Speaking of sketches, I'll be coming to your hometown if you live in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, this Thursday, July 20th. I've been giving out the wrong date. I think I've been saying the 21st. So Rich Voss is there on the 21st. You want to avoid that at all costs. And instead go to Soul Joel's on Thursday. Also, Uncle Vinny's this weekend, Friday and Saturday night in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. And also, we want to remind you guys about who supports the show. Daniil McConaughey said, I used your code for game time for his favorite band, which is it her or him? He got some Dave Matthews Band tickets in George Washington. George Washington. Anyway, if you guys want to do the same, the best way to get your tickets, I am looking at some tickets for the Hollywood Bowl. Just scouting. I don't even care what I see there. Not the Hollywood Bowl. The Greek Theater. I went there last week to see Neil Young, and it's just a magic spot. Even if you don't take mushrooms, it's a great spot to see a show. And so I'm on Game Time, and I'm looking at stuff that's there, waiting. And in the meantime, you guys can find tickets for all your best sporting events, theater, stand-up comedy, music. It's all there, and you get it at the last minute with no stress. Game Time has an app that it's a couple of taps with your thumb, and there's no printing tickets, there's no transferring. It's all right there in the app for you. You can take a look around from the seats. They've got shots of what it looks like from your seat. It's a guaranteed ticket. If you can find a ticket in the same row and section for the same night, they will give you 110% of the difference. So I would jump on that right now. It's really fun to go see live music or live theater. You forget how rewarding it is. And now you can do it without all that stress. Tickets go down at the last minute, and you can take advantage of that with killer deals. And so right now, snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Fitzdog for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Fitzdog for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, here we go. My guest today, you know him from Parks and Recreation. He played Sewage Joe. He was on Nickelodeon's How to Rock. He was on Community. He was on Reservation Dogs, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And then he's in that new show, Jury Duty, which is on Amazon. I can't promote anything. I don't know if I'm even allowed to say his credits. I think I can do that. But with the SAG strike, you're not supposed to promote anything. So we did the interview without talking about any of his projects. Anyway, he's also a great stand-up. He's had a half-hour special on Comedy Central. He did Live at Gotham. He's been on Tonight Show a few times. Great dude, thoughtful, kind, funny, dark. I know you're going to love it. Here is Kirk Fox. Sitting in Fitzdog Studios in beautiful Venice, California is Mr. Kirk Fox.
Just like that.
Well,
so we're going. It's on.
It's on. I mean, it almost feels like the middle, and I think that's how an interview should go. I think it should just start in the middle.
Greg, I completely agree with you. This reminds me of our last one years ago, and for some reason, it was always a comfortable ride.
Yeah.
So this is how I think it should begin.
Yeah.
I've sat down with people, and there's a lot of hoopla,
yeah,
and bells and whistles.
Uh-huh.
There's always someone in another room that someone's communicating with. But this to me is the way it should be, just two athletes trying to get through an hour.
That's it. And athletes, when you walk onto that playing field, you don't play like you just walked on the field. You play like you're worn. There's a reason why on the side, you got here an hour and a half early. And I know
I did get here an hour and a half early.
There's breathing exercises that happen. There's shadow boxing. There's crossword puzzles.
I just, I left enough time so that I'd be early.
Right.
But I had an opportunity to either go home after an oil change or come here.
Right.
And I knew I'd be early.
Yeah.
And I even reached out to you.
You emailed me. I'm not, I don't check my emails very often.
And I even outside, you had offered a phone number, and I was so excited because I think it's time. I've known you for years.
Yeah.
And we've never been able to just shoot you a text and say, hey, I'm going to be a little early if you'd like to come out there. But I just didn't want to go home.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to go home.
It's Thomas Hardy, right? You can't go home. Look Homeward Angel.
Is that Thomas Hardy?
Yeah.
He didn't want to go home?
He didn't want to.
Is that
you can't go home.
The actor or a book?
No, the writer.
Yeah. I was sitting in my car. Actually, I'm sure it's my wife's car. There's nothing really in my name.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm sitting in this parking lot, and I know I'm an hour and a half early.
Yeah.
and I didn't mind. It was 110 degrees, and I still was like, I'd rather cook in this car like an egg than
cook on a stove at home for everybody else.
To have to go home.
Yeah.
But this is why all men after work throughout history go to bars for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then they go home and try not to be abusive to their wives. But if you look at the 40s and 50s and 60s, men sure like the bars.
Oh, well, my father belonged to a golf club, and he would go there during the week after work. And we lived in New York, so 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, Saturday morning, up early at the course, and then they had a card room. They had they called it the grill room, and the men would play poker and drink and watch golf on TV after they played golf until 5 o'clock.
Of course. Why would they want to go home when you have
Sunday,
that?
same thing.
My dad would go and he would play chess at night.
No.
With a man by the name of Walter Peden.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if anybody knows Walter. He was a house painter.
Yeah.
My dad
it's
also
very similar to
my dad also was a house painter.
Okay.
But they would go and play chess, I think, every night for a few hours and maybe have a drink or two. I think Cutty Sark was a part of
bourbon,
was a part of my father's life.
Yeah.
Till one day I saw him drop a big gallon bottle of it, and I think that was it.
What did he drop?
It fell through a paper bag.
Oh.
We were at maybe a supermarket,
Uh-huh.
San Diego, Pacific Beach. I may have been 8 or 9, and we were walking to the car, and that big bottle of Cutty Sark fell through the bottom of the paper bag and shattered. And he said, "Ah, hell." And I don't really know if he ever drank after that.
No kidding.
So I'm thinking that was maybe the sign he needed.
Wow.
He was never a drunk, but I always remembered in the early years that there'd be a drink in his hand at the end of the day.
Now, Walter Peden.
Just a man. No one would know.
But was he related to the Detroit Pistons?
No, should he have been?
Well, Peden and Piston are very similar. He could have been a cousin.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd have to check the paperwork, but I knew there was a cool little garage setup that Walter had, where there was a little office with a chess, and there was also a pool table.
No kidding.
But I'd go with my dad, and I'd shoot some pool.
No way.
And they'd play a little chess.
Oh, that's
then
nice.
Eventually they had a falling out. I never knew what it was about, but there was maybe an argument that ended the chess days.
I don't think men had the skills. Like if you and I had a falling out, I think one of us would approach the other one and make a peace offering,
of course,
and we'd mend it. But I don't think men of that generation had those skills.
It must have been deep rooted, or I could be wrong. Maybe they just got
tired,
very old. And
yeah,
I know Walter was older.
Yeah,
maybe he died. Maybe that was the
that'll end a relationship.
I don't think we could really have too much of an argument. I don't really care enough to be territorial with a position. I don't think what would we fight about?
I mean, I could Google Walter Peden right now, but ultimately, I don't even know if Google cares.
Not about Walter.
No.
He was just a house painter in Bird Rock, California in the 50s and 60s.
Is that near San Diego?
Yeah, it's, I grew up in Pacific Beach, which is...
What's Pacific Beach known for?
Well, now meth. Now it's known for meth, but Pacific Beach was a nice little sleepy little town south of La Jolla.
Oh, sure.
Mission Bay.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
If you play the Comedy Store, you've stayed at the condo down there, right by Crystal Pier. So that's Garnett.
Yeah.
And I think my high school was possibly on Garnett or Grand.
Right.
But I grew up in PB. I grew up in the same house my mom grew up in.
Wow.
No kidding. Up there on Burrell Street.
She's still there?
No, my mom has made her exit, as has my father. So
passed on, you mean?
I think that's the exit. They're gone. They're in a crypt somewhere.
Yeah. Buried together?
Next to each other.
That's nice.
You know what? We're so thrifty. The Foxes, they might be in the same little kiosk. Whatever that. What's that called?
A mausoleum?
It's a mausoleum, but it's the little, I think it's
like
called
a locker.
It's almost like a locker.
Yeah.
But my dad was in the Army.
No kidding.
He went in late.
Korean War guy?
Okinawa. So
World War II?
Is that, yeah, he was an old man.
Damn, he had you late in life.
Had me late. Called me the last drip from a leaky faucet. But when he died, we didn't do much with his ashes for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we found out that as a veteran, he'd get a free burial.
Yes, that's right.
At Fort Rosecrans,
Uh-huh.
looking over Point Loma.
Nice.
And then when my mom died, I think we realized we could save money if we put them together.
Uh-huh.
So I think they're in the same locker.
Is there a spot for you guys? You have siblings?
I don't know.
Oh, it's just you.
No, I'm the youngest of 5, but I don't know what would happen if anyone died.
Oh.
I try not to think too much about that.
Yeah.
Like if I die, just leave me where I fall. That's always been my thing. I don't care much about death or life. I don't seem to care much about either.
Well, the Buddhists would say first you have to learn to accept death, and then you won't care about life, and you'll be in the moment.
Buddhists say a lot of things. They also say, don't call me a Buddhist. We don't like labels.
Mm-hmm.
Just kindness.
Right.
That's their religion. Even the Dalai Lama says, I'm just a simple monk. Mm-hmm. He'd never call himself a Buddhist.
Yeah.
A Buddhist is what other people call them.
Meanwhile, the Catholics are the opposite. Like Mother Teresa, she was a nun, but she was like she was like Mick Jagger in the 70s. She was running all over town.
Mother Teresa?
Yeah.
I don't really know much about her. Was she someone's mother? Do you know?
No, I think when you're a sister, they call you a sister when you're a nun until you get to a certain level, and then they make you a mother. And then if you get even bigger, they call you a motherfucker.
That's nice. So that's where you want to get to.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate for a mother, to be a motherfucker. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. But the Catholics, they love calling themselves Catholic.
Are you a Catholic? Is this how you were raised?
I was raised Catholic. I wouldn't call myself a Catholic now by any means, but I certainly have a strong attachment to the traditions and the rituals, and I don't
know anything about really any of that.
It is a religion.
My dad always said, just try and be nice.
Just try to be nice.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Do you believe that people need an external set of rules like the 10 Commandments, or do you think that inside of each person is an ethical system that actually works?
Well,
or is some people's off?
You make it work.
Yeah.
I think it's all inside of us, and if you have to use something else to get to it, I mean that's fine. I think it's already built in if you can just take a deep breath and say, shit, man, what's an honest moment here?
Yeah.
How can I not hurt someone or, stealing and murder and rape? Those are things that you shouldn't necessarily need a reminder of.
Right.
Shit, I want to kill this guy. Oh, let me check the list. Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
So I've never been a fan of any of that. I think it's all make-believe, really. It's just, the Bible's just, someone wrote it.
So why do you think...
Isn't it just written by some people?
It's written hundreds of years after the events actually took place.
And did they take place? It's just...
Some version of them did. I mean, the thing is about Jesus, I read this book called Zealot, and it talked about Jerusalem at that time, which was the year 00, whatever. And Jesus was one of many proselytizing zealots, guys that...
And that thing, what's that word? Just a preacher? Proselyte?
Yeah, somebody who's trying to convert people to their belief system.
I'm trying to be honest. Excuse me. So if a word I don't really know what it means.
Right.
I'm going to ask these
Good.
days. For years, I'm
thing.
sure I assumed I knew. But
and you nod, and then you're kind of confused.
And then you're just like, why am I?
Yeah.
I'm trying to value time.
Yeah.
That's why I'm even here.
Right.
I'm here in case of an emergency. I need to practice leaving my house.
Yes.
Like for years, I wouldn't do a podcast.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm trying to let me go see Greg again.
Right.
In case there's an emergency and I need to talk to a stranger or ask for help or directions. I think it's good to get out there. But I value this moment.
Yes.
And your time.
I feel it. I feel I feel like we're very connected right now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, sometimes I have podcasts where we usually get there. We almost always get there, but sometimes it takes a little while.
We started there.
Yeah.
We even started outside for a moment.
Yeah.
I think we're just old enough to not care about the other stuff. I was talking to someone the other day, and I don't mean to interrupt, but we were talking about Gary Shandling. And Gary, as he was nearing the end of his life, just things that he was working on, I don't think he kind of maybe knew that he was going to die. Something fell off, I think, for a while with Gary. And his mission was to just strip it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He just wants to strip down to who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And his big thing was just remove the antics. Remove the antics. So when you go on stage, just be stand-up comedy. Didn't want to do it. Just wanted to see if Gary was enough. And I think that's a good way to live. To just, who is this? To be seamless. And we mentioned it outside. It's just, when you go on stage, how do you just maintain the same guy that was just off stage?
Right.
And that's where I'm trying to dance. And it's hard sometimes.
Well, and also, how do you strike a relationship with the audience that's not authoritarian? That's not me, you all shut up, me talk, I'm the alpha. How do you avoid falling into that? Because if you go to that place, you're not gonna find anything that interesting.
I have things that I try and remember that I've heard over the years, and talk with them, not at them. Mm-hmm. I try and hug.
I think you have achieved that. I think
I'm
you
getting,
very much
I'm
do
getting
that.
there, but sometimes it's a little machine gun, and it becomes a monologue, which I don't want.
Yeah,
I'd like to feel the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you just try and hug them with my words.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm trying to get to, and that's my battle. I'm trying to be seamless in everything I do. Instead of getting on stage and say, "All right, man, let's do it. Mm-hmm. Here we are."
Yeah.
I want to always be there.
Yeah.
Off stage, I want to have this conversation, and which we do. We have nice moments before we go on stage.
Yeah.
And then I think you and I are very similar. We try and carry that on to the stage. Like I'd like to have this tone, this honesty, like I feel I'm present, and then say, "Hey, Greg, hang on one sec," and then go right on stage and say, "Hey, nice to see everyone. I was just talking to Greg about this. Don't you think that?" And then I'm okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to the people I see ramping it up. All right, it's time for stand-up.
Yeah.
What's up, motherfuckers?
Right.
It's like, that
and
might work for some, and I used to do it and was never happy.
Yeah, when I go up and I go off the top, like a lot of times before I walk on, I'll say to a comic that's in the room, I'll go, "Give me a topic."
I know, and I love that.
And that, even if the material's not good, the audience feels that we're exploring this together at the same time, and they suddenly lock into you. And it can be a crowd that comics are coming down defeated. Man, they suck. Well, yeah, they could be. There's definitely dynamics in the crowd where they're not as, like, we had a show on Friday night at the Improv.
Yes.
That was a crowd that every single comic walked off going like, "Wow, that was brutal," including myself. But if you approach that as like you said, like it's us, it's we with the audience, then you can kind of be like somebody who's at a funeral. Like, I'm still in the moment with you. We're not real happy. We're all not real happy right now, but we're still connected to each other.
And I have to be honest with you. They weren't laughers at all.
Yeah.
But I didn't really mind that set because I think I went almost 5 minutes before I even started.
Yeah.
I was talking about the chord a little, and because I could see that they weren't comfortable.
Yeah.
But the fact that I wasn't chasing them, and I was just, hey, let's see if we can kind of move together. Mm-hmm. Man, I got off stage. I was like, hey, man, I didn't mind them. Mm-hmm. Granted, everyone hated them, and I watched a little of the set before me, and they destroyed her. Mm-hmm. They just stared.
Yeah.
But that to me is like, okay, this is a new chapter. Let me try and love you for a minute, and I'm going to.
Yeah.
And I got the laughs where I wanted them.
Yeah,
but they were definitely work.
They were work, and it's about, managing expectations. And that's why it is good to watch the comic before you a little bit. Not too much, but
just a moment.
Just a moment, and see what's going on, and then you can walk on stage with the feeling of like, it's like raising a child. You walk into the room, and if they're having a tantrum, you're gonna adjust your approach, and if they're giddy and laughing.
Every room is a different. It's a different beast.
Yeah.
Or teddy bear, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We don't know about their day, and some people don't laugh and they love it.
Yeah.
I've had sets where I'm like, Jesus, they didn't respond, and then afterwards so many would come up and it's like, that was
and
that's
happens
like,
all the time.
It's like, okay, geez,
and it is a weird thing because it's even like, you've noticed this, sometimes half the room is laughing really hard and the other half of the room nobody's laughing, and you realize it's a very conductive dynamic that if people around you are not laughing, you don't want to stand out and be the one laughing. And so there is that moment where you may have to shift your focus to the dead part of the room, and you may have to engage them a little bit and get them to catch up to the other side of the room. I mean, I went to see Bruce Springsteen in me and my friends all flew to Tulsa, Oklahoma, because we wanted to see him in like a small town.
Yeah. So you flew to Tulsa?
We flew to Tulsa.
Man, you're making money.
Guys flew in from all over the country, Wyoming, Atlanta, Boston. All my buddies from college, we all met there and got an Airbnb, saw the concert, and it was the craziest thing. It was in an arena, so there's 15,000 people. Our side of the arena, everybody's standing, everybody's dancing. The other side, which we can see, they're all in their seats.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
And you wonder if a few people standing could have taken that whole,
Sure.
like the wave.
Sure.
I have learned that people are happier when they feel that they're in on something. It's the in-between, between the jokes, sometimes we get the biggest laughs. Mm-hmm. So for some reason, that half just, I don't know, they didn't feel it, or if a few had stood, maybe they'd all get into it.
And like you said, those people may have walked out of the concert and had the same reaction and said, that was amazing, I was moved, I cried.
But that's crazy that half was into it and half.
Yeah, it was really weird. And
maybe you were on the young half.
No, there was no young half. His crowd was quite a bit older. Although it was really cool seeing parents taking their, 17, 16-year-old kid to see Bruce. And I was talking to this one lady who had her son there, and I go, this is great, you're taking him. And she goes, oh, no, he knows every word to every song.
That's great.
Yeah. So that was exciting. What band would you take your daughter to see when she gets old enough? Assuming they're still around.
I wish I knew more about music. I don't. Part of me isn't a fan of crowds, and hopefully I don't have to take her anywhere ever. But I like the fact.
Hopefully.
But my wife sends me videos of like Taylor Swift and how there's just as many people outside of the stadium as inside.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe I would take Addison to a Taylor Swift concert, but not go inside or outside. I'd park a few blocks away and let her just maybe look at the stadium. Maybe that's what I would do. I don't really.
Would you buy her a T-shirt?
No, I'm cheap. But my wife will take her to those things. That's I'm not a fan of marriage or anything, or it's a law.
Yeah.
But I think Jaron, and I think our last podcast, I was about to be married.
Yes, you were just about to get married.
So that was in 2017. I think I was forced into that. But Jaron has taken her to the Lion King, and I think they went to the Hollywood Bowl recently.
You think?
Well, they did. I think it was the Hollywood Bowl to watch John Williams do some.
Yeah, it was probably the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah,
with one of Addison's schoolmates.
That's nice.
The mother. So it was the two mothers and the two daughters, and there was a box close.
Beautiful.
So that was good for them. And when they left, I was so happy.
Yeah.
To just be alone in the house. And I'm not proud of any of this, but we're being honest here, and it's like when I put them into the Tesla of the other mother, and they had their picnic basket and the frantic exit and the late. I was just first we get the kid in the back seat, and now we have to wait for Jaron. But once I saw when I saw that car drive away with my wife and daughter, I could breathe.
Yeah.
Something about it. I don't know if this is every man. I don't. I mean, I have too many dark thoughts.
No, but I think yours are more honest, because when you say them, I completely relate. Because if it's one thing if I'm on the road and then they say to me, hey, we're going to Hollywood Bowl, which I know means from Venice, it's going to be an hour. And you're going to sit in traffic. You're going to fight for a parking spot. You're going to pay $30 for it. You're going to trudge up that fucking hill, up Highland, about a half a mile. Try to find the ticket on your phone. There's no Wi-Fi, so you can't call up your tickets to show at the gate.
Oh, it's...
And so when I'm on the road, I go, oh, have fun. That's great. But when I'm at home and I don't have to partake in that, there's an ecstasy because you could have been part of that scenario and now you're not.
Oh, I'm not proud of how often I kind of go into that dark arena of, I read something today online, a fellow comedian, his wife and kids were on their way home, and I guess they got T-boned kind of a block from his house.
Oh, was this Dave Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kids are fine, but he went out there and saw that it was a familiar car.
Yeah.
And, the paramedics came and the kid came out. And, they took him to the hospital, and I guess he's fine, some injuries.
Yeah.
But I had a moment where I was like, if Jaron and my daughter were on their way home and got T-boned and the car just destroyed, which is possible. It happens.
Yeah.
And I showed up on the scene, and paramedics and police were there, and there were two sheets. They were dead.
Jesus.
And I thought to myself, the first thought in my mind was, I asked the officers, was it quick?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah. And the fact that I'm even, thinking that, and I teared up a little. Like my eyes, I was like, oh shit, man, I do love my daughter.
Yeah.
I'd be sad if the daughter was gone.
Yeah.
Wife, that's the battle. We all sometimes wish it to end. But as an actor...
In a car crash?
Well, sometimes I said I'm not proud of it. I said I started this with, I shouldn't have this many dark thoughts. Like I've often thought, two other instances, I've thought if a meteor hit the house and leveled it and killed them both quick, you know. Okay, we move on.
Yeah.
Or we live
It was meant to be.
I mean, the odds of if a meteor hit my house and took out my family.
Yeah.
That was meant to be.
That was meant to be. You can't stand in the way of that.
You can't stand in the way of, that's God.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really believe in God, but, you know, if a meteor hits your house on this whole planet and kills you.
You can't not think that there was a reason why it happened. Yeah.
There was something bigger going on.
Yes.
It was time for them to go. But I live in Laurel Canyon, and sometimes there's rocks that roll down.
Uh-huh.
And I've thought, shit, man, it could happen. And then I seem to be happy that I know that it is possible. But what I'm getting at is as an
wait, let me just.
But as an actor, let me just.
Yeah.
And then,
okay.
And the fact that I teared up a little thinking about seeing those two sheets.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is something I could use if I ever have to cry.
Yeah.
On film.
Right.
So it was a good thing. And this happened in your parking lot just now. So that's why it was good.
Is part of it that if they were to end up under a couple of sheets, there would be a goodwill towards you, a sympathy towards you, and probably like a fair amount of women that would console you?
Oh, that's not even...
That's not part of it?
That's not part of it. Part of it is just going home, you know, dumping all the shit that I've wanted to declutter, you know, getting what I want, moving out, you know, let the mom come back to the house.
You couldn't stay in that house.
I just don't want to be there anyway. So I think it's just, okay.
Right.
I'm out.
All right,
let me just go get a little beach house, a studio apartment anywhere. I'd like to be near the water.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in Laurel Canyon, but I think I'd like to be on the ocean. But I'll ride it out. I'm not going to kill my wife and kid.
But you could rent that house out and right now and take your family to a beach house. It would be smaller, but I mean, don't you want to be? You grew up on the beach.
No, I wouldn't want to be with the family.
No.
So I'd leave them there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rent it out. The driveway's too steep.
Uh-huh.
No one can even get up that driveway.
Yeah.
That's why I'm still there. I drove up it in 2016 and just my car was a Honda Civic. And I think I burned the clutch out. It was just like, I'm stuck.
So you just Uber.
I don't even really leave much.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is a big day for me.
Right. This is a big outing.
I think it is.
I love it.
I feel present, vulnerable, inviting. I'm trying to be honest.
Honest as hell.
I'm talking about, you know.
Now, does your wife listen to podcasts at all?
She doesn't listen to anything.
That's good.
But what is wrong? What if she did hear this?
Yeah.
Would there be something she didn't know?
I love your guys' relationship, and I've spent time with you guys together, and she has this ability to roll with everything that you say, and she seems to not take it personally.
Well, she doesn't. She knows I probably love aspects of her.
Yeah, yeah.
But she loves you.
She does.
She said, say hi to...
Oh, that's sweet.
Greg.
Yeah.
So and she'll ask me, did you tell him hello?
Yeah.
And if I didn't, I'm sure she'd be upset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
Good.
I'd wish a rock.
The rock and the sheet. The rock and the sheet.
That should be the title of my next special if I can ever focus longer than 20 minutes. The rock and the sheet.
Or just two sheets.
To the wind.
Two sheets to the wind.
But it's fun. I do like being a dad.
Yeah, sure.
But I was certainly okay not being a dad.
Yeah.
But I guess we have to do it. It's fun to love something.
It is.
You have a few, correct?
Well, I'm done. My kids are 20 and 22, so but I'm not done at all. I really thought at this age, because when I was 20, 22, like my parents were done with me. They didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't ask them for money. I didn't stay in their house. I came by and I loved them very much, but I also felt like it was time for me to move on, and I think they did too. I think my mom wished that I was home. Like, she kept my room the same, and she kind of like wished that I would move home, but I was a stand-up comic and I needed to be on the road. I needed to be in Boston where I stayed for a while. And then,
So you had your 20s, that was real life.
I was lucky enough to find something early on that I loved.
In your 20s?
When I was in college, I wanted to be a comedian.
That's something that I can't really relate to. And I think that is possibly one of the appeals of my wife, besides beauty.
Beautiful woman.
Strong tits.
Good
athlete,
yeah.
Tall.
Good legs.
She was, I think, 23 when I met her. And CPA, or, she was a worker. Yeah. She was a beautiful girl with a job. And she worked for, I think, the next 10 years or maybe 11 or 12 years, where she would go to a firm and work.
And make real money.
And her clients were billionaires. She was with a boutique firm, and she'd go downtown every day to the Wells Fargo building. And I'll tell you something about the Wells Fargo building eventually. Also, I pictured a fire, but we'll get to that.
Would you call the building and ask
this is the thing,
how their fireproofing was and all that?
Well, if I often I don't think about it anymore because she doesn't work down there. Yeah. But she'd be at work and I'd be on my way to play tennis or something. And from Mulholland Drive, I could look out and see the Wells Fargo building downtown. And I thought, what would I do if it was on fire? And I thought, would I call her? Like if I saw the fire. Yeah. And I said, yes, I think I would.
Good for you.
I think I would. You say good for you, but I would only call her in case she was free and then went back to her desk to answer the phone and then burned.
Yes.
And then burned. So, yeah, I would.
Would you finish the match? That would be between sets, I'm guessing.
Well, it was the drive there where I would think these thoughts. Yeah. But
wait, getting back to
finish the story. So I was like, man, this woman is going to work every day and maintaining a job, and she went to college, and I hadn't had thoughts of anything consistent.
Well, you were till I started a tennis pro?
Yeah, but what was that? I would teach tennis a couple hours a day, and I've always just wanted just enough. Yeah. But here was a woman that had a real job and would go somewhere and have thoughts. Like I floated till I started stand-up. Yeah. And I even floated then, but I didn't start stand-up until I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. So my whole 20s were just chasing girls. Hey, man, life.
Were you living at the beach?
In my mind. Uh-huh. I was, I grew up in San Diego, and then I came up to Hollywood in my 20s and just was teaching tennis to, Beverly Hills, rich people.
Were you
directors and they'd put me in their movies, but I think I like that about Jaron is that, shit, man, here's a real human being. Just like you in your 20s. Yeah. Was like, okay, I knew I wanted to do stand-up, and you were actually doing shit, but I haven't had real thoughts even until recently. Yeah. I think when I had the child late. My child's 5. Mm-hmm. So when I had the kid, I started working. Yeah. As an actor. Mm-hmm. Started finding a little depth to anything I did. Mm-hmm. So I think it was good that I have a child. Yeah. It made me, I think, a better listener. Found some patience. But up until the child,
you were just all about yourself.
Of course. Yeah. And I still am mostly. Yeah. Like I don't seem to care much about anything except that kid. I want to make sure she's safe unless she's T-boned in a car. Then I want it quick.
Then you want it just to
quick.
end.
Just
yeah.
Snuff it.
Right. Let me ask you this, and be honest with me if you can. I know.
Have I not been honest?
Well, it's just sometimes there's NDAs involved and all that. But did you ever make love to one of your students when you were a tennis teacher? And I'm sure you're asked that a lot, but I'm dying to know.
No, looking back, not my students, but I would use tennis as foreplay to just about everyone I've ever slept with.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to play tennis?
That's a nice first date.
And then I give them a tennis lesson and find out their weaknesses.
What do you learn about somebody when you play tennis with them for the first time?
Everything. You find out what they're capable of. If they're athletic, you see them in a skirt. You can make them do things where it reveals their body.
What do you mean? You hit them like a lob, so they got to reach overhead?
You hit them a lob.
Comes up.
You know, you make them pick up their own balls.
Yeah.
But I think you can learn everything about someone, how they hit a backhand. And
whether or not they charge the net or they hang back at the baseline.
Yeah. And my whole life was, every job I've ever gotten was through tennis. So tennis has always been my agent.
Interesting.
And I think even the people that helped me get jobs, I was teaching them tennis.
Yeah.
Like all my friends at UTA, I would teach tennis to. So they knew I was friends with the boss.
Yeah.
So they would try and help me get things. But it was always hip-pocketed.
Yep.
I think they always knew they were doing Peter Benedict a favor.
A favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still love these guys, you know. In my mind, Peter is still my agent.
Yeah.
Because I've never had an agent. And I feel if someone wants me, they can find me.
They can find you. Yeah.
You know, I'm tall,
Right.
DM me, do you have a job? Or I'm at the Comedy Store, someone might see me, but I don't really have anyone hunting.
No.
I have someone that'll answer the phone, but
I've got a long-standing relationship at UTA, many years, and they've always been good to me. And they pick up the phone and they do stuff, but there's only so much you can do for a 57-year-old straight white guy at this point.
The same.
You know?
There was a phase where, for some reason, I was kind of working, and I saw my stock rise there.
Yeah.
But then for some reason, then the stock goes down, and hey, it's all right. And
yeah. That's the beauty.
I never really wanted to do the road, so
yeah.
Kind of, Heidi Feigen was a fan, and she was head of the comedy, but I just didn't go out enough, so that kind of faded. Everything is kind of.
You can only say no to road dates so many times before they go, I'm not going to try to bring this guy.
I know, and that was, and Heidi is still a friend, and she always, you're the funniest. We had that momentum, and then you just let it die.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sebastian at the same time was climbing, doing every road
working
gig.
hard, showing up.
And there's the result.
Yeah, it is amazing. Who is the best tennis player of any stand-up comic out there?
I think there's a few great ones.
Yeah?
I know Michael Costa.
Right.
Michael can play.
You guys competitive?
I think we could be.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, you've never played him?
We hit once, and I think we maybe even played a set, and I'm sure he kicked my ass at the time. I had very little effort.
Right.
I'm sure I would have tried harder if my life was on the line or I cared about anything. He's a lot younger.
And did he play pro tennis?
I think he was out there. We both tried a little.
Picked up an ATP point here and there?
I think there was one or two that fell on us by accident. But he's great.
Yeah.
Michael's a great tennis player.
Who else?
That's all I know. That's all I know. I only know the best.
I play paddle tennis. If you ever want to play some of that down at the beach, you ever play paddle tennis?
I'm aware of it.
Oh, you look down on it.
No, I'd like to play. If I'm going to get out there, I would play tennis. I played a little pickleball.
What'd you think of that?
Recently, and I was like, okay, I could dominate at this.
Well,
but it's like, what am I going to? Now I got to go find someone to play.
Yeah.
Pickleball with. I think once you're married and you have a kid, I think those days of going to do anything are are gone.
Yeah.
That could be why I look forward to them not being there.
Right.
I mean, I can't go play golf for 5 or 6 hours like I used to.
Yeah. And now
Golf was my life also.
is your daughter, does she have childcare or go to a preschool or anything?
She did have a nanny that eventually now works with Joe Rogan, became the bar manager
Oh, really?
out there, was our nanny. She was helping,
Yeah.
but Joe poached her, took our nanny.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
She's having fun out there.
That sounds like
But my wife quit her job a few years ago to be a mom.
She did.
So I'm missing out on the possibility of the Wells Fargo fire. You know, she's not driving as much where rocks fall.
There's also the
And
life.
I miss the money because now I have to,
You got to be the earner.
and I've never wanted to have to make money.
Yeah.
So now I guess I have to,
Sure.
and that's not gonna be pleasant.
Yeah.
But the kid is about to start kindergarten. Is it kindergarten?
Kindergarten.
How do you spell it?
Kindergarten.
Kinder.
Yeah.
See, I said, what did I say? Kindergarten?
You said kindergarten.
I maybe didn't even have the D. I maybe said Kinney.
I think you might have said kindergarten.
Okay, Kinner. But
Yeah.
she's about to start kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I guess if the school knew that her father couldn't even spell kindergarten.
Or fantasizes about the sheets.
Well, yeah, but it's all, I don't think there's anyone that hasn't at one point thought about death to a spouse.
I have, but to be honest.
Have you never thought about what it would be like?
Absolutely. But, and I had a friend who lost his wife.
At the mall?
No. We were in preschool. And we were very close to both of them. And she died, and they had 2 kids, our kids' ages. But this guy got so much support and sympathy and love that there was a part of me that went like...
Did he kill her?
He did not kill her.
Okay, because that happens a lot.
That does happen a lot.
Dateline.
And you still get the same sympathy because nobody knows you killed her.
Yeah. You get the sympathy until you don't.
Yeah.
It's like Ted Bundy was sweet.
Yeah.
Until he wasn't.
Right.
So, like, you're going to get a lot of sympathy, but there's always going to be people that wonder, did he kill her?
Did he kill her? Yeah. Especially
So, how's he doing? Did he remarry?
Never remarried, but...
too much sympathy. Too much
sympathy. He dated a lot of divorced rich women, and his kids turned out amazing.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
How'd she die?
She had scleroderma. Which is a thing Saget used to raise money for because he lost a sister to it.
Yeah.
So that's a terrible way to die because your organs basically petrify and nothing works anymore. It's just an awful...
My heart seems to be hardening.
It's petrifying?
It seems to be pretty hard.
When were you the most loving? No, you're still loving. But when were you the most open to emotions?
Well, I seem to tear up, and this might not have anything to do with family, but ice skating, I tear up sometimes when they fall.
Yes, I can relate to that.
And it's like they've worked so hard, and then they fall. So I'm sad when that happens. I also I can tear up at sporting events.
Yeah.
When the whole crowd unites.
But you're singing my song. I can't watch figure skating for that reason because when they fall, I just think about that. How many sacrifices did they make? How many birthday parties did they miss? How many?
I know.
How many mornings did they want to sleep in? And how many parties they didn't go to because they had a 6 a.m. practice, and then they fall and it's just over, all of it.
I think I kind of teared up the other day with my daughter. She was swimming and kind of went the whole length of the pool. And she hadn't been going the full length. She had lost some confidence.
Yeah.
She took some swimming lessons, and so she could only go a few feet and then would panic. But she got it where the head would go down and she'd swim a little more and then come up and catch her breath and then and she made the whole pool, and she was so excited.
That's great.
I just saw it on her face, and she hugged me, and that moment I was like, oh God, and I felt a feeling.
Yeah.
But it's usually with the child that I'll feel something.
Yeah, yeah.
Or when I, picture the sheet.
The sheet brings tear to your eyes.
Well, just one. And it could have been that it was so hot in that parking lot waiting for you.
Yeah.
But I try and always be kind and loving. It just comes off. I'm like sandpaper. I realized the other day, it's like if I bump you once, it's gonna. Jesus, that's a little abrasive. But if I just keep bumping that same spot, you'll be smoother.
Oh.
For having taken the abuse.
I wasn't reading it that way. Yeah, I see it. There is an upside to being around somebody like you.
Yeah, so I think I help. I think I nudge people toward the light. They just have to be open to take it.
Yeah. Do you look down on people that are over emotional?
I look down on nothing.
Nothing.
That's not the way I can't even imagine to look down on someone because I know we're all just, it's who we are.
Everybody's doing their best.
We're all just doing our best. Do
you
have another water by any chance?
Yeah, right there. Grab that.
Down low?
No, right on top.
Okay.
Unless you want a sparkling. The sparkling are inside.
No, this is it.
You drink a lot of water. My God.
An hour and a half I was out there.
Right.
So I'm trying to rehydrate. I think it's because I was dying out there that I was having thoughts of.
Have you thought about getting air conditioning for your car? Because it is Los Angeles.
There is, but that's uses gas.
Yeah, right.
I'm thrifty.
I'm
just trying to save it since I don't want to work.
I see the shirt. Yeah.
This is actually a new shirt.
Is it?
It just looks like it's been through a lot.
It does.
I didn't want it. The wife wanted to get me something. James Purse. Good cotton. But this is new. It just looks, I look a little, wherever I am, I look like I just woke up there.
Yes.
And that's just kind of who I am.
Have you ever been handed change on the street?
I have not.
Yeah. But
homeless often look at me like I'm a homeless guy who's doing pretty good. Like when I come in to a situation, they think I'm the new guy on the block.
Yeah, you're a role model for them.
But I look dirty, but I'm very clean.
Yeah.
Like I bathe a lot.
Yeah. So do you think, if you were to become homeless, which is a distinct possibility.
Well, I often dream about it. Like I've told my wife, you can keep spending my money, but when I'm out, I'm leaving. I always let her know that, excuse me, when there's no more, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm close. There's some renovating going on, and things are being purchased.
You got a fancy car. I've seen your car.
Yeah, but these are hers, man. Yeah. I'm married for land.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's got land.
She's got some land
and
up there.
And family money, too, right?
Well, the family money is mostly gone. But like I said, she's living in the house that her dad grew up in. So I married her, and I moved in with her and her mom.
Yeah.
Same as, just like my dad. My dad married my mom and moved in with her and her mother.
Wow.
So I'm following... I must be a grifter at heart.
Yeah.
I think because I married her because I thought, okay, I might as well.
But it seems like you would be really anxious and excited to go on road work because you get 3 or 4 days where you're just away, alone in a hotel room.
I know, but I just seems like work. I don't want to have to...
Do 5 or 6 shows in a weekend.
Yeah. I went to Phoenix a week or 2 ago. Did 2 shows. And I didn't mind that. It was one night. I filled in for someone and did my hours. And I could do that. But the idea of a weekend and flying.
Mm-hmm.
I like going out with Tom Segura.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing 20 minutes.
Right.
We're flying private, staying at the Four Seasons. It's like, oh, okay.
Nice dinners.
Yeah, and I tell my wife I'm struggling and it's hell and I miss you.
Yeah, you got to do that.
But it's like, I'll do that. I'd rather do 20 and stay at the Mandarin Oriental in Paris than do an hour and stay at a Motel 6. It's just like, I've just never, I did my hour special a few years ago for Showtime. And I was just, the way I practiced was doing 15-minute sets at the Comedy Store.
Uh-huh. So there's 4 acts.
4 15-minute chunks.
Yeah.
And then I went and did my hour instead of practicing on the road.
Uh-huh.
So it was a little clunky.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I could go do an hour right now and film it, and I probably should. But,
all right, listen.
But the road isn't for me.
Let's start the podcast.
Okay.
All right, I got some stuff to ask you.
Okay.
All right.
So now what you're doing right now is something that brings in money? Did you just add an ad?
No. This is just where I go to the script. I always prepare some stuff, and then if the interview goes well, I don't go to the script until the very end.
Now, will this be in there, this conversation, or
no.
do you cut shit out?
I'll cut everything out up until now.
Wow.
No.
I know.
But
I like this conversation.
Yes.
This moment.
Yeah.
Like some people would cut that out thinking it's not important.
Yeah.
But this is what people want to see. It's the in-betweens, what they think is scripted.
The transition.
So try and leave it in.
Oh, absolutely. Everything stays in. You getting the water?
You guys.
I don't cut that out.
Oh, it has to be in.
People want to see Kirk Fox get
Kirk
water.
Fox.
By the way, I want you to rank Kirks for me. I'm going to give you 5 Kirks.
Kirk, okay.
You put him in order.
Okay, that's order of importance to me.
Doesn't matter. Whatever your criteria are, that's your criteria.
Okay, we'll see.
Could be the one that's closest to you. Could be the one that...
Okay, sweat. That's good.
Yeah.
It's just hot in here. That means I care.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Kirkorian.
Okay.
Kirk Gibson.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins. Kirk Douglas. Or Kirk Hammett.
Okay, let me just say Kirk Cousins and Kirk Hammett, I'm not that familiar with. So until I know more about them, they'd probably be lower.
Okay, I have them right now as 4th and 5th place. So I'm going to leave them there.
That's exactly where they would be.
Yeah. I should have known that because Kirk Hammett he's the guitar player for Metallica.
I'm familiar with who it is.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to throw you. I do love Kirk Gibson, mainly because of that hit and the mustache. And there was just something about his movement. It looked painful.
Was he a Dodger?
He was a Dodger, and, they brought him in at the bottom of the 9th once, and he won a game when he could barely walk.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So Kirk Gibson should be, number 1 for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you why Kirk Kerkorian is number 1, which is because...
Now, what is he? Is he a billionaire?
He's a billionaire.
And he made his money on real estate?
Yeah, and he owned the casinos, Kirk Kerkorian.
Yeah.
And the reason I love Kirk Kerkorian is because I was briefly married to Clint Eastwood's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago. It was a Vegas wedding, and I just love Clint.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, Clint loved to call me Kirk Kerkorian. For some reason,
really?
It made him laugh that he would call me Kirk Kerkorian. And he would smile when he would say it.
Yeah.
So Kirk Kerkorian, just for some reason, that made him smile.
Yeah.
Kirk Kerkorian. Hey, Kirka. He would call me Kirka. And so Kirk Kerkorian clearly is probably number one.
Probably number one. I can see that.
Just because of...
it's Clint.
It's Clint.
Yeah.
And I think a quick Clint story is I was playing kind of a golf celebrity thing. His daughter Allison was who I was married to briefly. She loves animals, and she was putting together a fundraiser out at Sherwood Country Club.
Uh-huh.
This was when I played golf.
Yeah.
And she said, "Would you like to come out?" I said, "Of course." And as I was leaving early. I didn't want to stay for the party. I'm sure I had to get home to the family or something. The hell of having to return. And I saw this old Lexus kind of just weaving through the parking lot of Sherwood. And I was like, Jesus, this car's very old to be here. And then it kind of stopped near me. And I looked in, and there was an old man kind of crunched in the seat, like barely, almost laying down.
Uh-huh.
And I glanced, and it was Clint. It was Clint Eastwood. He always drives himself. It's the same car that I remember from 20 years ago that he had.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Hey, Kirk, where is this thing?" And I was like, the fact that, and I hadn't seen him since, I think we golfed the last time I saw him, maybe.
So this is years after the divorce.
Yeah.
And you guys were good.
Of course.
Yeah.
Clint, we were golfing once, and he said, if you really wanted to golf with me this bad, all you had to do was ask. I was like, I know, I fucked up. And the joke I used to always do is, one time he called me a son of a bitch on the golf course, playfully. And I was like, "You called me son." That's all I ever wanted, But there was but the fact that he still called me Kirka,
yeah,
that was
that's
funny.
nice.
And I said, "It's up there." And he's like, "Oh shit, those stairs look high."
Yeah.
And then I guess he found a parking spot, but he was always, the fact that he's out there, he was probably 92.
He had to love you because you kind of remind me of him a little bit. You got
Well, that's why I married Allison.
Yeah.
That was a joke I used to do, because one time after we married, she's like, I only married you because you reminded me of Clint.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's the exact same reason I married you. And that was always funny to me. The real joke was we got married, and we were having breakfast the first morning, and she started eating. I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Eating." I'm like, "Shouldn't we wait for Clint?" She's like, "Clint doesn't live here. Did you think I lived at home?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was kind of one of the reasons I married you. I thought we'd be having breakfast with Clint more often." But it was it was fine. I think we got married in 2000 maybe.
Yeah.
Vegas, Elvis Chapel. It was.
And so no family was there. It was just the two of you.
Black Elvis was there, and the limo driver was our witness. It was all.
Yeah.
It was all bad.
Yeah.
But it was, hey man.
Yeah.
It was fun being Clint's son-in-law for a few hours.
How old were you?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Old enough where I probably shouldn't have gotten married.
Yeah. Well,
but
I dated a girl in college, and at BU, I went to BU, and it was hockey was the sport. I mean, football team nobody watched, and basketball wasn't very good, and so everybody in the school went to see every hockey game.
Yeah.
And the coach was this famous coach, Jack Parker. He'd been there for.
And where was this?
Boston University.
Okay.
Did you know BU is Boston University? I guess I shouldn't assume that. I think on the East Coast.
No, I think maybe you
that.
even said Boston. I was probably thinking about I was probably thinking there was one other Kirk that we didn't add.
I went down.
We talked Kirk Gibson.
We didn't talk,
and the two others. Who was the fifth?
Kirk Douglas. He didn't talk about.
I love, Kirk Douglas. He'd be up there.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of Kirk Douglas.
What about Michael Douglas?
Yeah, I like.
He held up the legacy.
I like the Douglases.
There's a lot of good father-son acting duos out there. You look at Lloyd Bridges and then Bo and Jeff. Are you kidding me?
Of course. Donald Sutherland and Kiefer.
Kiefer Sutherland. You got
Michael Caine and Cocaine, his nephew. No, I don't. Comedy.
There was also, what's his name?
You know, the Sheens and, you know.
The Sheens.
Emilio.
That's a pretty good one. Yep.
Who else?
We'll see. We'll see what
Who
happens.
was in Chips? Evans? Wasn't there the captain in Chips has a working son. Pine, Chris Pine.
Oh, his father was one of the guys in Chips?
Yeah, he was the captain.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
You remember that? I think.
Lenny Kravitz's mother was the maid on Good Times.
Oh, shit.
Not Good Times. What was the one that was a spinoff from the Jeffersons?
What's happening?
The Jeffersons.
Nice.
Yeah. There was a lot of black sitcoms back in the 70s. Jeffersons, Good Times, What's Happening.
Yeah, where are they now?
They're not around now.
They had a run.
Yeah. Now they're around, but they're mixed.
Isn't Blackish?
They're all
Was
mixed.
Blackish a black?
Blackish
I didn't
was,
see that.
And then I think Grownish might have been as well. When's Whitish come out? Because I can call you
Whitish
TA
is
about
probably
that one. Probably
out.
in the works.
It's probably already out.
Yeah.
They just changed the name.
Friends, I think, was Whitish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friendish.
All right. Here's the next thing we're going to talk about.
Okay, that was good. I feel that we went some distances.
This is called Fastballs with Fitz.
Okay. Fastballs with Fitz.
With
And
Fitz.
you're Fitz?
I'm Fitz. I'm going to hit you with 3 questions. I ask all of
And
my...
they got to be fast answers?
Nope.
Okay.
They're just fastballs because
I don't like to be rushed.
There's no time limit on these answers.
Okay.
Pauses are accepted and will be left in the show. I got some paper and pencil if you want some scratch work.
I shouldn't have to. I don't want to have to write.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I've asked these of many comedians.
Okay.
Everybody
And
has different
am I a
answers.
comedian to you? Is that how?
I look at you more as...
a tennis pro who does a few things.
I look at you as a game show contestant who just hasn't gotten the job yet.
Oh, I like this.
Is it fair or unfair that some people are likable and or good looking and others are not?
Is it fair? Well, it's just the way it is. I think it's, of course, fair. Because we need the homely people to let us know how pretty we are. We have to be able to compare ourselves.
How did you get in the good-looking camp so
I don't
quick?
know. You want to be able to look at someone less attractive and say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm better than someone. So is it fair? Shit, man. I think it's a crapshoot. I think some people maybe that aren't as beautiful are smarter.
That's true.
I think it's a wash.
Yeah, it becomes
I
a
really
wash.
think nothing matters. I
Yeah.
think if you're caring about that shit, you're not being fair to yourself.
Well, that's coming from a guy who's good-looking and talented and likable.
Yeah. So I can only say that I prefer.
You prefer this system.
I prefer this. I think it's fair to me. But I also haven't utilized it enough.
Yeah.
I probably would have done more if I was less attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Things have come pretty easy
It's
to
pretty
me.
easy to you.
Green eyes, long eyelashes,
Yeah.
big cock.
Right.
These are things that have spoiled me and made
Yeah.
me work less.
Right.
But, I probably shouldn't have been married with all these gifts.
Why do you think Brad Pitt works so hard or George Clooney works so hard when they've got those same gifts?
Are they working hard?
Maybe the work just comes to them.
But are they like doing movies?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know if that's hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in movies. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, but then
I think the hard work in life is the downtime.
Yeah.
I think the hard work for both of them has been commitment
Yep.
to either marriage or children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think making movies is what keeps Brad up at night.
No.
But I think when am I going to see my kid, or how much who was he married to?
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, it's like, okay, do I have to deal with her tonight? That seems to be what has pained him.
Right. And maybe why he spent so much time on movie sets.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think I don't think they're really working. I think George loves his sports, and I don't think he wants to be married.
No.
So that's the work.
That was just
Brad's happier now.
Yeah.
He sure seems happy shooting his Formula One movie.
Yeah, I think that when you get big enough where you have to start making documentaries, maybe that's more work.
Yeah, that seems like you're doing something that's bigger.
Yeah.
And might be weighting you down soulfully.
Yeah.
I think a documentary means that you got some weight on you.
Yeah.
But a Formula One movie, I don't think Brad's pissed about driving 180 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And I saw in those interviews he does, and accepting these. I saw a speech the other day about, I think, the role in the Hollywood, the story of Hollywood. What was the movie he did?
Oh, the Tarantino movie?
Yeah. So he said, it's hard playing a guy who, doesn't get along with his wife and smokes too much and takes his shirt off. And he sure enjoyed saying that.
Yeah.
Like, he's happier not with her.
Right.
Would I be happier not with Jaron? I don't know. Probably. But he still loves his kids, I think.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing okay.
Right.
He sure seems to have that twinkle.
All right, here's the next question.
Okay.
There are two types
And I love you, Brad. I'd like to, to work with you.
Sure. There are two types of people in the world.
True.
Go.
There are? There's two types of people?
There's two types of people in the world.
Ego and non-ego.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
And I think the happier...
That's the best answer I've ever heard to this question.
Okay. I think it's those that are fighting. There's those that are territorial, have to be right. That's a bad lane to be in.
Because when you're wrong, it enrages you.
It
unsettles you.
So I think stripping down that ego and just being okay and not being territorial. Every war is fought over ego and territory, and Russia's going into the Ukraine. That's territory. That's ego. They've disrespected Putin. That's all ego based. Every war is they're fighting over land.
Yeah.
So I think if you can dump that ego and just try and love those who love freely and those who have stipulations to love.
Yeah.
But I think that all falls into ego. And those who don't fall too much onto it.
I love it.
Okay, good answer.
Have you ever not finished a set on stage?
Well, yes. I have. It was, I think in 2008, and I've even looked up the date, and have we ever talked about this?
No, I've never heard this before.
And it was really an important moment in my life where I look back on it, and it was a moment in time that has never left my subconscious, and it's always been in there. But
you'd been doing stand-up 6 or 7 years at this point.
Yeah, I started November 10th, 2002.
Okay.
And this was 2008. So, but I had just done a set at the Improv. It was we were auditioning for Letterman. So I'm drawing a blank to his name, but he came out. Who
Daniel Kellison?
No, this was who used
Robert Morton?
No, God, I don't know who was in charge of booking comedians for for Letterman.
Yeah, it was either Morty or Daniel Kellison.
No, there was someone else, but I'll remember his name.
Okay. Oh, Eddie Brill?
Yeah, it was
Eddie
Brill. He was out there.
Right.
And for some reason, something was brewing in my brain where I just wasn't happy about my stand-up. None of it felt truthful. I was in some weird state of mind where it's like, God, this is all bullshit that all my jokes are just jokes. Who am I? Who's Kirk Fox? And because I'd had a lot of success quick in comedy, but it was a character.
Yeah,
it was a character, and I went up there, and Kyle Dunnigan had been up there before me, and he was doing some music. Some stuff with the pedal, and there were some chords up there. But for some reason, I went up there, and I just couldn't even get to my jokes. I spent too much time dealing with the chord or some shit. And I got laughs, but it just seemed to be like, Jesus, there wasn't even a joke here.
Uh-huh.
And then afterwards, Eddie's like, hey, that was great, but we can't. That's not a set you could do. It's not a set you could do on.
Yeah.
You can't come out there and do that. Okay, yeah, sorry. I kind of got a little sidetracked. But I felt like my brain wasn't intact. Mm-hmm. And then I called the Comedy Store just because I had a spot later at the Comedy Store. And Tommy said, oh, you can come up now and get on. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I rushed up there. And I usually try and eat a little something before I go on stage. Uh-huh. Try and get a little fuel.
Yeah.
But I didn't have time. But I went up there because I thought I was going to go right on. And so I got there at like 9:30. I had like an 11 o'clock spot. And then suddenly everyone showed up. And so I was like, okay, so I'm here for an hour and a half. And I felt something was off in my soul. Mm-hmm. But I was watching all these comedians be great and honest, and I was like, shit, these guys are really talking about who they are. Uh-huh. Sebastian went up and he was talking about things that bothered him, and I was like, Jesus, why don't I ever talk about things? I was really having maybe an existential crisis in my own brain. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting next to Tim Allen in the back row. I had just auditioned for something he was doing. So we had a moment, but then I was like, shit, man. I just wasn't feeling myself. And then I was like, oh, I'm hungry. Shit, maybe I'm hungry. Is this story boring?
No, I like it.
And then
I have a not a good listening face.
Oh,
my mind is listening.
No, I like it because it's good to look back on it, because then Stephen Byrne went up before me, and he kind of had some words with the audience, and he had been at the Brill thing also, and he had talked that he didn't really like his set. So it was kind of a testy energy in the room, right. I felt, but now it's like a room is a room. But at the time I was like, oh shit, because I was still pretty new to comedy.
Yeah.
And I went up there and I started doing my set, and no one was laughing because I think I just wasn't selling whatever I was talking about.
Yeah.
And someone in the front row said, ha, ha, ha.
Oh, wow.
And something like clicked in me, and the room kind of started spinning, and I was like, what? And then I was like, this is not good. Whatever I'm feeling here is like, shit, man, the room's spinning, and my heart started kind of pounding. And, and then I said, Tommy, get these guys out of here. Like I wanted them thrown out.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, I'm one minute.
1 minute in, you're trying to get people thrown out.
I was like, wait, I thought he was mocking me or something. And, looking back now, I see the mania of the moment. Uh-huh. And, God, it's fun to... And so security came and took these 3 people out. And they were yelling at me as they were leaving. And this was shortly after, Michael Richards had his meltdown. And I think one of the guys that was thrown out was black, and he yelled something that, maybe the N-word was involved. Like they did not want to be thrown out, and they shouldn't have.
Right.
It was insane of me. Like
I love that we have that power that 1 minute in you can call for it and they're going to do it.
But it was like 1 minute in for just laughing, and as he was leaving, it was like I loved you. I was laughing. That's how I laugh, and it was just,
yeah.
And then so they're gone, and now the room is like, what the fuck has just happened? And then I kind of start again. And someone in the back row just, you're projecting. And I was like...
That's a hard heckle. You know a good heckle? When they say you suck, I can deal with that. Oh, I can come back from that.
Oh, when they say you suck, it's like, I know, I do.
Yeah.
I do suck. I never said I
But when they break down why you suck, that gets inside your head.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was like, and suddenly I couldn't speak. I thought I was having a heart attack. And I'm like, Tommy, who's next? What? Who's next? Steve Renazizi. All right. Okay, and the next guy is Steve Renazizi, and then they had to find him. And he came up. He's like, what the fuck, And that all took 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So when you ask if I ever not finished a set, it was once.
Yeah.
I have not finished a set, but that was...
It was a perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm of, a panic attack, anxiety, whatever.
Hunger.
Whatever it was the first time it had ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, shit, this is bad, because for a year or so I was like, this is in play.
Yeah.
This could happen
at
any. So I always made sure I was I always made sure I had a cranberry soda. I always made sure I eat before I go on. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, I don't think it was the burger. I think it was just I wasn't honest or kind or open.
Yeah.
So this new philosophy I have about just love them and be open and kind, it's what I feel I need to do to not fall into that, whoever that guy was. Yeah. Because it wasn't a pleasant moment. And I'd always felt bad, and I still, hey, man, if I ever see that guy, I would, hey, man, sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to come to a show?
Yeah, right.
And it was just, it was an interesting thing. It was.
You need to have it.
But I did need to have it.
Yeah, I mean,
because I'd never had anything like that in my life.
Yeah.
So this is happening in my early 40s.
Right.
So I was having that moment on stage that everyone maybe has in their 20s where, oh, what's my voice? Mm-hmm. Who am I? And even Sarah Silverman said something to me, because I was having some conversations with her during this weird year of my life where, who am I? Mm-hmm. She's like, hey, it's okay to tell a joke as long as you know it's a joke. It's okay to tell a joke. Every great comedian sometimes buys a joke or has writers, and they don't freak out if they're like using something that's written for them.
Yeah.
But for some reason, my brain was like, it has to be real, has to have happened.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I have a seed of truth and I water it with my imagination, this is still who I am.
Right, right.
This is my point of view. It's what I think is funny.
Well, I'll tell you, my son...
And the last thing, I can tie it into Marty Fish.
Yeah.
Who's a tennis pro who was having panic attacks, he left a match that he was supposed to play with Federer at the U.S. Open because he was having these panic attacks and anxiety, and he thought he had a heart attack, and he quit tennis for a couple of years because the room would spin and he was having real anxiety, and the way he figured out how to get through it was just to be open and kind. And it's the same thing. Bridges.
Yeah.
Our favorite actor, Jeff Bridges, used to have these panic attacks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I was like, Jesus, the dude was having these panic. So he said, yeah, I'd have him, and there was this book I got a hold of, and he started doing meditation and Tonglen, which is a type of meditation where you take in the suffering of the world and you give them love, whatever will ease the suffering. So I started reading this book, and it helped it just kind of helped me get a grasp of how to maintain.
I went to a concert a few nights ago. I went to see Neil Young at the Greek, which is just the most beautiful, you want to talk about the perfect place to see a concert. It's about 6,000 people. It's nestled into the bosom of Griffith Park.
Yeah.
And so I go, and it's Neil Young, who I love. And I have so much emotional connection to him because I grew up at very formative years. Neil Young was the soundtrack to my life. Me and my friends just listened to a lot of him. And so now here he is. He's 78 years old, and I think this is the last tour. And he's out there, and the stage is set up. It's got an upright piano that's looks like it's from the 1950s. He's got an acoustic guitar, and he's got a row of harmonicas that he's picking from. And it's set up like a living room, and you can hear a pin drop. And it is, a lot of older people. Some of them have their kids with them, but it's people that look like cool-ass people.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is heaven. I took some mushrooms, and we're watching.
Because you were hungry?
Yeah, I was starving.
Okay.
It was pizza with mushrooms. Yeah. And then these three guys show up, and they sit down next to me, and they are about 6'4", muscular, drunk out of their minds, and yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
And they shit on this entire experience for everybody within 3 rows of them, and they're sitting next to me. And my trip went from bad to worse to worse.
Yeah.
And so Neil Young started singing about taking hate and turning it into love. That was kind of the theme of the entire show.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to love when it's your child.
Yeah.
Or it's the person that you vetted. You've gone through thousands of people that we meet in life, and you hone in on a few and you become close. It's easy to love those people.
Yeah.
Can you love the drunk that's sitting next to you who is dripping with aggro testosterone energy? Can I love that guy?
That's the mission.
And that's what my mission became during that concert. And I had to move back a few rows because I had some words with him, and it got kind of ugly, and I thought it was going to get physical. So I moved back about 10 rows, but then I focused on trying to love them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got all the way there, but I heard Neil's message, and it stayed. And on mushrooms you have epiphanies that stay with you, and that stayed with me. Is that love is not selective.
Yeah.
And it's not meant for VIPs. It's for the lowest. Jesus Christ, can you love the pauper, the prostitute?
But those are the ones we remember.
Right.
And that's the battle.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Phoenix last Saturday or Friday, whenever I was talking to you, and I was doing 2 shows. And in the first show, 5 minutes in to the hour, a woman had kind of a stroke.
Oh, Jesus.
The first
probably a heat stroke, right?
A little heat stroke, but she went down, and it was the table pretty close to the stage, and suddenly, is there a doctor, and called 911, and paramedics showed up, and I was just kind of on stage for these 15 or 20 minutes, not talking. I probably should have sat down, but I was just kind of sending good thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's all kind of work through it. But there was a guy in the front that I had kind of clocked early, kind of a big guy, and I could tell he was animated and a little drunk. And he said, "Oh, great lady, you know, what a way to start the show." Yeah. And I was just like, "Gee, oh man, this is not. This is." I already felt that. Oh God, this is not a guy. I was like, "Buddy, come on." You know? And eventually, they revived her, and they took her out on the stretcher, and she was kind of waving to everyone, and you know, the room suddenly was better. Yeah. And I said, "Oh, maybe she loves parades," because, you know, I made it funny. Yeah. And, you know, then they kind of went out the wrong door and had to bring her back through the other door. So she's waving again. And I was like, hey, maybe she just loves parades. You know, maybe this is her. Yeah. Maybe she fakes a heart attack so the paramedics will revive her and she can ride on the stretcher. And then the show started again, and that guy was very animated in the front and kind of commenting, and then he got loud, and I said something, and I'm like, you know, come on, you got to let me. Whatever I said, I was trying to be loving, and I was wondering why security hadn't come in to at least give him a warning. Because they were dealing with the paramedics, and there was also a show going on in the other venue. And so there was no security. So suddenly I'm having to engage with this guy. Yeah. And he's like, "But you asked a question." And I don't ask any questions.
It's not what you do.
And if I had, it was, I don't even remember. But he suddenly was the voice of, you know, the room. Yeah. And I was trying to calm him down. I was like, is there any security? Or, you know, I was trying to be like, I'm like, buddy, you got to dial it down so I can continue on. Because already the show's not, for 20 minutes, we've been floating dead. And then finally, after 10 minutes of me talking to this guy, trying to, you know, then security came in and just whisked him out. And he was like, but I love you. You know, I love you. You asked a question. And I felt bad because I wanted security there 10 minutes earlier for the warning. Yeah. Of like, hey, just take it down or we got to ask, you know. So he didn't even get the warning. Yeah. So I felt bad that, oh God, you know. So it's interesting that I was trying to love. Yeah. But I tipped. Well, I think that, and I tipped for the good of 300 people.
I was just going to say, you have to love those 300 people too, and
I know.
Realize
so that's how I.
Those people all hired babysitters. They valet parked. They jumped through a lot of hoops for this moment.
And that's how I moved on.
Yeah.
Because 3 people that were with him stayed. Okay. And they kind of looked at me like, it's a.
That's Jim.
That's Jim. But I felt I had a moment of and then I continued on and did my hour. But it's interesting how you just what can tip you, and you maintained at the concert and but you had words.
I had words, and I regretted. I didn't regret having the words because I think I have codependency. And I was more upset for the people around him because they were all such gentle, loving people and not the kind of people that would ever say anything. And people started shushing them. There was a lot of shushing, and then they started making fun of the shushers. Yeah. So it just was escalating. And so then I thought...
That's the perfect storm.
And I have no ability to not step in. I have always been the guy that feels like he's got to be the hero. I got to be the one that's going to make things right because I think it's because my father belittled me, and he was a 6'2" guy. He was a tough guy from the Bronx. And so I've always felt like I have to help out people. And I don't know that I do. I mean, maybe sometimes I do. There's times where I go like, that is my role in life. We all have roles, and for some people, it's to stand up for the weaker people.
I try and smooth the room. Yeah, it's always been where I came from. I think I think it was the way I was raised.
Yeah.
You know, but that can also come off as, you know, passive, and I'm floating, and I don't want to be confrontational, and I feel bad when I am. I mean, when I threw those guys out in 2008, I knew I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, wait, what's wrong with me that I was that quick to not be able to, hey, man.
Well, there was a lot of reasons why.
Yeah, but it was all mental.
Yeah.
It was all a moment in time. The whole night came to a head, and even months before, I was starting to question who I was, my comedy, and now I'm better for it.
Yeah.
But man, those are the moments.
Those are the moments where you grow.
And that's why prisons are filled, because some people in those moments snap.
Yep. Yep.
The snap happens.
And the thing is about those people that snap is like, what happened before that for them? What was their childhood? What was their day? You know, what's their chemical makeup? We're not chemically made up the same. Some people have a hair trigger, and there's nothing they can do about it. I have it. Right. I don't have it to the degree that somebody in prison does, but, you know, a lot of these people, they don't make good choices, and it's a moment that changes your life.
Yeah.
Whether it's road rage or whether it's throwing a punch in a bar, you can get punched back and be fucking paralyzed for the rest of your life.
It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I feel that, well, I'm closer than I'd like to be. You know, someone can say something that, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Let's breathe through that and just, all right, man, this is their day. But it's interesting that it's there.
Yeah. All right, listen, to sum it up.
Yeah, man.
Kirk Fox.
I feel there was conversation.
Yeah.
I feel we made the world better. I think if someone listens to this, they'll realize that, hey, we're all going through it.
Yeah, I think we're all going through it, and I think that we all go through times that hurt at the time and are confusing, but that give us some strength and some clarity later, and that I especially for I see my son and his friends going through this now, that they're so confused. They just get out of college, they don't know what they want to do for a living. They're feeling like, and I just want to go to them, hey, just embrace that you don't know. Just live in the fact that you're not sure right now. That might be kind of a beautiful way to live for a couple years.
I think it's the way to go. It's where I try and dance.
Yeah.
I used to think I knew everything. Mm-hmm. And now I'm kind of happier being able to say, shit, man, I don't know those two Kirks. Or it's kindergarten, right? You know, it's like I probably can remind.
What is proselytizing?
Yeah, I probably can go Google it, but for the sake of this moment, remind me. It's like and I think that's okay. Yeah, it's okay to not know. And it's okay to know that you just want to be better.
Yeah. All right, Kirk, thank you so much. I would promote your projects, but according to the SAG agreement, we're not allowed to promote projects.
I'm sure you can Google Kirk Fox and see what I'm up to.
Right.
Hey, someone called you.
That's my mother. I'm going to call her right back.
See, you have a mom.
Yep, she loves me very much.
Yeah.
And I love her.
Okay, I love you.
I love you, man.
Bye.
Bye.